So I wanted to tell you a little bit about a student that we worked with this year. This student joined us a little bit late. And when a student joins us right before the senior year of high school, they really do need to have, hopefully, the credentials for the first two doors in place. Things like their courses over the years, their grades, their test scores, things like that. In this particular case, this student really thought that he was he was relying on just those first two doors. And so he thought that he was strong enough just on those merits to be admitted to Ivy level colleges. So there was just a fundamental misunderstanding of the second two doors, if that makes sense. So academics were the strongest part of the profile, but they really weren't unusual for top schools. And again, it takes experience with multiple cases to understand what credentials really do make a student unusual, that they will stand out academically for the top schools. I thought it was very impressive that this person had earned fives on 15 AP courses by the end of the junior year and was going to have more by the end of the senior year. Of course, all A's in high school and probably the top 5% of his class, about not a perfect SAT, but very close to perfect SAT, 1580. Activities really were not unusual. Mostly they consisted of his own physics research and attempts to, do camps and things related to that, as well as teaching and coaching math and physics for younger students. So things like math clubs. He had done some camps, summer camps in these areas, but again, not especially in impressive camps. He was a U.S. Physics Olympiad pre-qualifier, so again, he was consistent, he was strong, but he hadn't achieved at the very top level, just kind of moderate performance for top universities in the world. But a lot of volunteer teaching and coaching, which included working with some middle school students in a science club, and no top level leadership, but he had kind of middle level leadership for a STEM tutoring organization. He tended to be the vice president of things, not the president. The most interesting thing was that he had done some independent physics research in an attempt to try to qualify for the International Science Fair, the Regeneron International Science Fair, but he had not qualified. So there was no unusual focus or top level leadership, and we knew that this was going to be a problem. So one of the things that was very interesting about this student when we first met him was that the foundation, the first two doors were there, but this person was going to be very rejectable at the top schools because he was not unique in his strengths and credentials. And we actually worked with the family quite a bit to help them understand that and the need for what we were going to do here. So my work focused on the last two doors, making him likable and relatable. And one of the things that we were able to pick out of his existing credentials was that young men who like to work with middle school age students are unique and special. It can be a difficult age. A lot of teachers who teach in the middle school years, they love doing it, but then a lot of people really won't work with that age group because they are difficult. They can be very difficult. So I knew that we needed to feature some of that work with younger students in essays in order to make him likable and to show that warmth. So we, highlighted that. The personal statement was a little bit difficult to settle on a topic. We ended up using his music. He had been a lifelong instrument. He played the violin. And in order to complement the intellectual side that was coming out in the academic credentials, we wanted to highlight the emotional side. And music, which is a very common topic, if it's handled in an uncommon way, can really show that emotional side because you focus on the emotional expression of musical performance, which longtime musicians will tell you that that is something that they grow into over the years. So we focused on that emotional growth and expression in the music. And that helped us because this particular student was fairly reserved and difficult to draw out in an initial conversation and in his initial, even in his writing. And so focusing on the emotional expression in the music allowed us to show passion and intensity, emotional intensity that was going to make him relatable and likable to the admission office. Um, we had the student also write a supplemental essay about one of his summer camp experiences and the social diversity of the people who are attending the camp. Um, as you will hear more about as you get into this process, there's a lot of concern right now over how students relate to people who are not like them. They are different in terms of the socioeconomic status that they have, different races, different backgrounds, urban students, rural students, and liberal political students, conservative students politically. It's very important to the US colleges that these students be open-minded to learn from people who are different and that they be comfortable being with people who are very different from them. And that takes self-confidence. It takes not just tolerance for people who are different, but actual interest in people who are different. So we made sure to write a good kind of all-purpose essay that we could tailor to different colleges' prompts that ask questions about how you learn from other people who are different from you, how you learn with people who are different from you. So this is a type of essay that we are seeing even more of ever since we had a Supreme Court decision come down this summer that made it illegal for colleges to simply consider a racial category when they are admitting students to college. So this had to do with that third door, the likability factor. And I'm going to move on to the fourth door, because as Lorna has described to you, you can get through the first three doors. You can have the credentials, the activities, the leadership. They can like you, but they have to have a place for you. They have to be looking for someone with your particular profile that what you're going to do for the university. So for example, this student came to us hoping to major in computer science. Now, we knew the situation with the really the overwhelming number of students applying for computer science. And we knew what computer science candidates who are successful at the top schools look like. And this student did not have that experience at all, really did not have that experience. And so this student, if he wanted acceptance at the very top universities in the world, had to apply for math or physics at every school. And that was simply a strategic choice that we had to make if that admission was more important to him than computer science. So we did that. We had talked about how the student's credentials were very academic in nature, right? He had great test scores, curriculum, that long list of AP fives. Those are impersonal, wonderful academic credentials, but impersonal. And therefore, they are going to be more successful in the United Kingdom. And we made sure that we recommended that he apply to Cambridge or Oxford and that he look at going through that UK admission process. And sure enough, he ended up being accepted to Cambridge by the end of October, which is wonderful. So we developed, because he was going to apply to the UK system first, we developed the statement for that system first. That is different from the essays for the US colleges in a lot of ways. The UK, again, it's more academically driven, and your essay statement there is based on your academic interest, your intellectual background, and what you hope to do at university. And so strategically, it makes sense to write that one first and then adapt that long intellectual essay into the shorter academic and intellectual essays that the US system requires. So we did that to save him time. We have a special team that helps students apply in the UK system that helps with that process as well. And we emphasized, again, the math and the physics in this area, and then adapted that. He again was accepted to Cambridge, which I think is an amazing offer for science. He was also accepted to 2 of the universities from the Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, MIT grouping, and he actually got a couple of waitlists in that group as well. So he had excellent results, and really it was a matter of recognizing the talent and then strategically shaping the application and the list of schools and the majors to make sure that he got through all 4 doors at one of these or 2 of these, or in this case, 3 of these top universities.